with the Virginia plan and the New Jersey plan, there is definitely two very different agendas and two different goals in mind. One is to benefit the big states, one is to benefit the small states. What happens next is completely amazing, and something that we don't see very much today is we have them compromise. Compromise means that they can both live with it, but neither of them are totally happy with it. But they're going to work together and come up with something that they can agree upon so that they can work with this and move it forward. Just to give a little taste of what it was like to be at the Constitutional Convention, George Washington is there. He is kind of playing the part of the judge. He's trying to be very impartial. He really doesn't participate in the debates a lot, except for just to give his vote. He feels like his role is just to kind of stop them if they get too heated, which they do. Another thing that happens is Benjamin Franklin asks that they pray before each session and ask for divine guidance and finding a compromise. So when we're talking about separation of church and state, it is very clearly different back then to how it's interpreted today. So just keep that in mind. Things change, and that is okay that things change. That's why the Constitution works, is how it's worded. It's not incredibly specific. Otherwise, you would have to account for technology and all the changes that happen. Okay, so some things kind of change a little bit, but this is one thing that they do. And in fact, Congress today, when Congress goes into session, they start those sessions with an open prayer on the floor. So, interesting facts for you. Okay, so what exactly is the compromise? When we're talking about a compromise, what I want you to know is that it's an agreement that is reached by each side making concessions. Okay, so both sides have to give up something that they really, 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 really want. So they're not going to be 100% happy with it, but it's going to be something that they can live with. Okay, we talked about this just a minute ago. Here's what they end up doing. This is the Great Compromise. Another one that I want you to know. So you need to know what the Virginia plan is and what the New Jersey plan is. More importantly, you need to know what this Great Compromise is, because this is what ends up going into the Constitution. So the first, we have a bicameral legislative branch. That means that you're going to have two different houses. What they decide is one house is going to be called the House of Representatives. This is going to be population based. So great big states are going to have a lot more people who are there for them specifically than the small states. It is going to be as close as they can be to one representative representing the equal amount of Americans. Okay, so like today, for example, California has way more than Montana in the House of Representatives. California currently has 53 House of Representative members based off of their population. Montana has 1, and that's mostly because all states have to have at least 1. So, because a ton more people live in California, they have a ton more representation. But the small states still want equal representation as well. So the second house in the bicameral legislative branch is going to have equal representatives from each state. What this looks like today is in the Senate, there's 2 members from every single state. We have 50 states. That means that there's 100 senators, period. Unless another state joins the United States of America, then we'll have 102. But there's 100 senators. The House of Representatives has 435 members. That's a number that you'll want to know, that in the Senate. It's actually quite easy for us to remember that because here in Utah, the area code on our phone number is 435. That's how many members there are in the House of Representatives. It seems like kind of a funny number, but it is strictly because that's how many people could fit in the building that they have. That's why it's 435. That number gets readjusted and redistributed. So like if California's population declines and for some reason everyone moves to Montana, or we could say Wyoming because the Kardashians live there now. If all of a sudden those numbers switch on census years, they will reevaluate and those can change. States can lose representatives or states can gain representatives. So this year's the census year. You've probably seen the commercials, seen the billboards. If Utah's population grows enough, we could get a 5th representative. Right now we have 4. We could get a 5th. Or if our population declines, we could drop down to 3 instead of 4 or 2. So that is what it is. Okay, the next compromise we're going to talk about that you also need to know because this is crazy important and your U.S. history class this year is going to go through the Civil War. So this is really important because that's when this next one changes. This is called the 3/5 compromise. So now we have a House of Congress that is based off of population. So we really need to decide, are slaves going to be counted as population or not? The slave states are like, yeah, we're going to count it because we want more representation. We want more power in Congress. So we have to figure that out. Do slaves count? Do they not count? Then we also have to figure out if they count as part of the population, can they still be taxed and can we still get tax money from them as property? Because states are also collecting money and getting tax revenue from each member's property, each slave owner's property, which is the slaves. Okay, what do we do? Can they be taxed as property and considered people? Can it be both? So what they come up with, and like I said, a compromise. So neither of them are all the way happy with this, but it's something that they can both live with for the time being. What they decide is that each slave is going to count as 3/5 of a person as far as representation and as taxation. So, I'm sorry, dear slave, you are only 3/5 of a person. I will get 3/5 of a vote towards my numbers in the house, okay? And then with taxation, they are worth 3/5 of the value of the property. So now we have the slave who all of a sudden is 6/5 of a person, making them more people than all the rest of the people, which is kind of interesting. Okay, so now we have all of those major issues addressed, how we're going to deal with it. And now we need to get the Constitution signed. The Constitution is signed September 17th, 1787. There's 13 delegates who have gone home at this point, so 39 out of the 42 are left to sign. But after they're signed by people who are there, they also need to get it ratified. Ratified is this term you need to know. If you don't know it, you need to know it. Ratify is to agree upon, to accept. And what they learned from the Articles of Confederation is that if they require 100% of the states to ratify it before it goes into effect, it could take years. So they changed it. They said that we need 9 out of the 13 states to ratify this, and then it'll go into effect. Eventually, all of the states ratify this, and they go, and it is accepted by all 13 of the states at the time.